The two pink lines, the afternoon light filtered through the blinds of Olivia's apartment, casting stripes of gold across the bathroom counter. She stared at the pregnancy test in her hand, the two pink lines undeniable. Her breath hitched. This wasn't planned. She reached for her phone, fingers trembling as she typed a message to Julian Reed, her partner of 3 years. "Need to talk. It's important." Julian, ever the workaholic, was likely buried in meetings for his fintech startup, Vertex Capital. His replies had grown slower over the months, his presence in their shared apartment dwindling to mere hours between flights. Olivia traced a finger over her still flat stomach, wondering if this would change anything. His response came an hour later, stuck in negotiations. "Tonight? No," she typed back. "It can't wait." When Julian finally pushed through the door, his tailored suit wrinkled and his dark hair disheveled, his eyes a stormy blue scanned her face for clues. "What's wrong?" he asked, loosening his tie. Olivia handed him the test. He stared at it, silent for a long moment. Then unexpectedly, he laughed. A baby. Dropping to his knees, he took her hands. "This wasn't in the 5-year plan, but neither were you. And you're the best detour I've ever taken." Relief flooded her. For weeks, Julian surprised her. He downloaded pregnancy apps, attended the first ultrasound, and even argued with her about names over takeout. "What about Theo if it's a boy?" it asked, chopsticks hovering over sushi. "Too pretentious," Olivia teased, nudging him, but then Vertex Capital closed its Series B funding. Julian's late nights became absences, his excitement replaced by distracted nods. One evening, as Olivia showed him an ultrasound image, "Look, she's sucking her thumb, Julian." Barely glanced up from his laptop. "Cute. Hey, I need to fly to Singapore next week." "Next week is the anatomy scan. Can't they record it?" he asked, already typing an email. That night, Olivia lay awake, Julian's steady breathing beside her. Then she felt it flutter like a butterfly, trapped beneath her skin. She grabbed his hand, pressing it to her belly, but he didn't stir. The baby kicked again, and Olivia understood. This child would be hers alone. The nursery walls were half-painted, a soft sage green that Olivia had chosen after hours of deliberation. Julian had promised to finish them last weekend, but another critical investor call had taken precedence, now at 38 weeks pregnant. Olivia stood on a step stool, rolling paint onto the upper corners herself, her back aching with the effort. Her phone buzzed on the floor. Another message from Julian. Beijing meeting ran late. Flight delayed. Won't make it home tonight. Olivia exhaled, setting the paint roller down. She rubbed the small of her back, where a persistent ache had settled. The doctor had warned her about overexertion, but the nesting instinct was relentless. She wanted the nursery ready. She wanted something to be ready. The birthing class, the community center's fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Olivia settled onto a yoga mat. But only expectant mother without a partner. The instructor, a no-nonsense midwife named Dorothy, shot her a sympathetic glance. "Tonight, we're practicing labor positions," Dorothy announced. "Partners, stand behind your mother's tubie and support their weight during contractions." Olivia swallowed. Round her husbands and partners dutifully stepped forward, hands on hips, murmuring encouragement. She clenched her fists, then forced herself to mimic the stance alone. Arms wrapped around her own belly. A woman beside her, Myra, she remembered, leaned over. "Where's your husband? Business trip?" Olivia said lightly. Myra's gaze flicked to Olivia's left hand, bare of a ring. "Oh." Olivia pretended not to notice. The storm that night, rain lashed against the windows, the wind howling like something alive. Olivia lay in bed, her stomach tight with Braxton Hicks's contractions. False labor, the doctor had said. But as she shifted, a sharp pop sent liquid rushing between her legs. Her water had broken. Panic clawed up her throat. Too early. Julian wasn't due back for 2 more days. She grabbed her phone, dialing him with shaking hands, straight to voicemail. "Julian," she whispered into the phone, "the baby's coming." No response. Another contraction hit, stealing her breath. She called an Uber, then texted Julian's assistant. "Vivian, Tell him I'm in labor." The reply was instant. "He's in closed-door negotiations. Says to hold on." Olivia laughed, hysterical. Hold on. As if she could stop the storm inside her body. The hospital, the maternity ward, was too bright, too sterile. A nurse named Rosemary guided her to a delivery room, her voice calm. "First baby," Olivia nodded, gripping the bed rails as another contraction tore through her. "Partner on the way?" Rosemary asked, strapping a monitor around Olivia's belly. Olivia closed her eyes. No. 12 hours in, the pain was a living thing gnawing at her spine. She bit her lip to keep from screaming. The nurses became her lifeline, Rosemary murmuring encouragement. Another nurse, Patricia, holding her hand through the worst of it. At hour 18, Julian finally texted, "Can't get a flight until morning. How are you holding up?" Olivia didn't reply. Leo at 3:47 a.m. After 22 hours of labor, Olivia pushed one last time, and then he was there. Slippery, wailing, perfect. 7 pounds, 3 ounces, Rosemary announced, placing him on Olivia's chest. Tears blurred her vision as she traced his tiny features, his button nose, his shock of dark hair, his fingers curling instinctively around hers. "Leo," she whispered. The nurse brought the birth certificate paperwork. "Father's name?" Olivia looked down at her son. Julian had missed everything. The first kick, the nursery, the storm, the birth. She shook her head. "There isn't one. Leo Thomas Winters. Hers alone." The apartment smelled like lavender and baby powder. Leo, now 3 months old, lay on his playmat, kicking his legs at a dangling elephant, while Olivia folded tiny socks, a never-ending chore. She glanced at her phone, where Julian's last message sat unanswered. "Back in town? Can I see him?" She hadn't replied. Not yet. A knock at the door startled her. Tessa, her assistant from the museum, stood there holding a casserole dish. "Housewarming gift for the new mom," she said, grinning. "Also an excuse to meet this little guy," Leo cooed as Tessa scooped him up. "Oh my God, he looks exactly like you," Olivia smiled. Thank God. The museum returning to work felt like stepping into another life. The Westridge Contemporary Art Museum was quieter now, the halls hushed in the post-lunch lull. Olivia's heels clicked against the marble as she made her way to the new exhibition, Space Parenthood in Modern Art. Her passion, project before maternity leave. Tessa trailed behind her. "So, the interactive installation is almost done. The artist here today, you'll love him. Total genius. Kind of a dork."
"Oh."
Olivia rounded the corner and froze. A man stood on a ladder, adjusting a delicate mobile of origami birds. He was tall, his dark curls tied back in a messy knot, his forearms dusted with paint. As he turned, his glasses caught the light, obscuring his eyes for a moment before he pushed them up. "Olivia Winters," he said, hopping down. Finally, his name was Nate Parker. Children's book illustrator, paper engineer, and, apparently, the creator of the exhibition's centerpiece, the fox Leo fussed in the museum's childcare center later that afternoon. His face scrunched in protest. The attendant looked apologetic. "He won't settle. Maybe he's hungry." Olivia lifted him, but he squirmed, his cries sharpening. "Mind if I try?" Nate stood in the doorway, a sketchbook already in hand. Before Olivia could answer, he tore out a page, folded it twice, and like magic, a little paper fox took shape. He wiggled it near Leo's face, making a soft yip noise. Leo's cries hiccuped. His tiny fingers reached out. Nate grinned. "Works every time." Olivia stared. "Who are you?" "Just a guy who knows how to fold paper," he said, handing her the fox. "And apparently, your son's new favorite person." Coffee and confessions, they sat in the museum cafe, Leo dozing in his stroller between them. Nate stirred sugar into his coffee. "So, single mom?" Olivia tensed. "Is it that obvious?" "No," he said quickly. "Just noticed there's no ring, and you didn't mention a partner." The truth sat heavy on her tongue. He's not involved. Nate didn't press. Instead, he pulled another sheet from his sketchbook, folding it absently as they talked. "I grew up with a single mom. It's hard, but kids don't need perfect just present. The paper in his hands became a crane. He set it gently on the stroller's canopy, where it swayed above Leo's sleeping face. Olivia's throat tightened. Julian's returned that evening. Julian stood on her doorstep, his suit impeccable, his expression unreadable. He didn't answer. My texts. Leo babbled in Olivia's arms, oblivious. Julian reached for him. Hey, buddy. Leo turned his face into Olivia's shoulder. Julian's hand dropped. He doesn't remember me. Olivia said nothing. The choice later Nate texted, exhibition opens Friday. Bring Leo. I made something for him. Olivia looked at the paper fox on the nursery shelf. At Julian's unopened gifts in the closet. At her son, who had never once reached for his father. She typed back. We'll be there. The morning of the exhibition opening, Olivia dressed Leo in a tiny striped onesie museum appropriate, she joked to herself. As she fastened the last button, her phone buzzed. Julian again, we need to talk. In person. She hesitated, then typed. Not today. The museum courtyard was already bustling when they arrived. Nate stood near the entrance, his usual paint-splattered jeans swapped for dark slacks. A navy button-down rolled to his elbows. His face lit up when he spotted them. There's my toughest critic, he said, crouching to Leo's eye level. The baby squealed, grabbing for Nate's glasses. Olivia laughed. He's been practicing his grip. Nate stood, brushing a curl from his forehead. Ready to see your exhibit? The installation? The gallery had transformed. Nate's centerpiece in interactive paper forest dominated the room, with tunnels for crawling, dangling leaves to bat at, and a canopy of origami birds that fluttered. When touched, Olivia's throat tightened. You made this for babies? Nate shrugged. Kids deserve art too. Leo wriggled in her arms, reaching for a low-hanging paper vine. Nate lifted him carefully. Want to test it, buddy? Olivia watched as Leo patted a giant paper mushroom, his giggles echoing in the gallery, and its large hands were surprisingly gentle, steadying the baby without restraint. A museum intern snapped photos nearby. This is perfect for the press release artist and curator collaborating. Nate shot Olivia a questioning look. She nodded. Though her pulse jumped at the thought of Julian seeing this, Julian's ultimatum he arrived just as the speeches began. Olivia spotted him in the back-tailored suit, clenched jaw, his gaze locked on Nate holding Leo. You didn't mention him, Julian said lowly when he cornered her later. Olivia adjusted her blazer. There's nothing to mention. Julian's laugh was brittle. Right, that's why my son is laughing with a stranger instead of he's not a stranger to Leo. The words hung between them, and Julian flinched. Singapore's happening, he said finally. A time with me. Part-time, Olivia's nails bit into her palms. Can't just, or I fight for full custody. His voice dropped. Think, Olivia. Who's the better parent? Is the one with resources? Or the single mom struggling to finish a nursery? The threat slithered down her spine. Nate's kitchen she showed up unannounced. Leo asleep in his carrier. Nate took one look at her face and wordlessly poured 2 glasses of wine, pushing one toward her. Olivia didn't drink. Just stared at his walls, covered in sketches, half-finished mobiles, a photo of a smiling woman who must be his mother. He's leveraging money, she whispered. Nate's fingers stilled on his pencil. Can he win? I don't know. Her voice cracked. But I can't let Leo grow up feeling like an obligation. Nate turned a page in his sketchbook, revealing a half-drawn bridge. My mom used to say kids are like rivers, he murmured. They find their own way as long as someone keeps the banks steady. Olivia touched the sketch. Which are you? He met her eyes. Whatever you need me to be. The storm returns, rain pounded the windows that night as Olivia rocked a fussy Leo. The weatherman warned of flooding. All she heard was Julian's voice. Full custody. Her phone lit up. Nate. Power out your way too. Before she could reply, the lights died, Leah wailed. Then, a knock. Nate stood on her porch, drenched, holding a flashlight and a paper lantern. Figured you could use backup, he said, in the flickering lantern light. Olivia saw the bridge sketch pinned to his bag now. completed with two small figures holding hands in the center. The power outage stretched into dawn. Nate stayed through the storm, making silly shadow puppets to calm Leo. Boiling water on the gas stove for tea, his presence steady as the rain lashed against the windows. When Olivia finally put Leo down in his crib, exhaustion dragged at her bones. "You should sleep," Nate murmured. Handing her a mug, she studied him in the dim light, the way his shirt clung damply to his shoulders, the quiet certainty in his movements. Julian had never boiled water in his life. "What happens now?" she asked. Nate's thumb brushed her wrist. "That's up to you." The letter Julian's lawyer sent formal custody papers the next week. Olivia sat at her kitchen table, the legalese blurring: primary residence, international visitation, financial provisions. Leo banged his spoon on the high-care tray, smearing sweet potato everywhere. Her phone buzzed. "Nate, need a break?" "I've got new paper animals." She typed yes before she could second-guess herself. The museum bridge. Nate met them at the museum's back entrance, where his latest installation, a bridge made of interlocking paper planks, stretched across a reflecting pool. "Walkable art," he explained, lifting Leo into his arms. "For the new Touch the Sky exhibit." Olivia traced the delicate railing. "It's beautiful. Stronger than it looks," he said, stepping onto it. The bridge held firm. Leo reached for the water below, giggling when Nate pretended to wobble. Olivia's breath caught. This was what safety looked like, not Julian's sterile penthouse, but this: sunlight through paper, laughter over water. Nate's sure hands keeping them both steady. Julian's last offer. He came that evening, his Rolex glinting as he slid an envelope across the table. "Flight reservations for both of you. Singapore's got the best schools." Olivia didn't touch it. "He's not a business deal, Julian." "Then what is he?" Julian's voice cracked. "A hobby? A weekend project with your artist?" The venom in the word made her stand. "Leo deserves people who show up, not just when it's convenient." Julian stared at the fridge, at Nate's latest sketch pinned there, a lion with Leo's curls. "You've already chosen." The courtroom's sketch family court was quieter than Olivia expected. Julian's lawyer argued about stability, international schools, trust, funds. Then Nate entered, unsummoned, carrying a folder. He handed the judge a single sheet, a courtroom drawn in pencil, but instead of benches, the spectators were paper animals. A fox held a gavel. A crane took notes, and in the center, woman and child, standing on a bridge. The judge studied it. "Your son's work?" Olivia's voice didn't waver. "His favorite illustrators." Julian looked at the sketch, then at Nate's calloused hands. When the judge called recess, he walked out without looking back. The new installation months later. Olivia stood in the museum's courtyard as Nate unveiled his latest piece, the guardian tree. Its branches hung with hundreds of folded leaves. "Make a wish," he told Leo, helping him tug one loose. The leaf unfolded in the toddler's hands, revealing a tiny sketched fox. Olivia met Nate's gaze over their son's head. "Our son," she thought. Though the papers weren't final yet, the tree's shadow stretched long in the afternoon light. The bridge behind them stood solid, waiting. Epilogue. First steps. Leo took his first steps on the museum's marble floors, careening between Olivia and Nate. When he finally collapsed into Nate's arms, sticky fingers clutching his shirt. Olivia didn't reach to take him back. She simply laced her fingers with Nate's, their hands a cradle beneath their son's weight, and knew some storms passed. Others you learned too. Dance in.